But how do you know when you're ready? Hi everyone, this is Charm again and welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and adulting how-tos. I've made some real estate videos in the past wherein I told you to buy a property when you're young and ready, and also to take advantage of other people's money by leveraging or taking out a home loan. But how do you know you're ready? Does buying your first property make sense for you right now? If not, then when? These are some of the questions that I hope to answer today by sharing to you guys 7 signs that you're ready to buy your first property and computing how much you can afford to buy. Just as a disclaimer, I'm not a real estate broker or agent, and a portion of this video is sponsored by Avida, but more of them later on. Without further ado, let's start the video. Okay, so first sign that you're ready to buy a property is that you have 6 months worth of emergency fund. So this means that you have 6 months of all of your monthly expenses saved up for emergency. So this doesn't include whatever you are preparing for the down payment of your property. Having that 6 months of emergency funds also tells you that you have the discipline to save when you need to. So in the future, when you have home loans and you have to pay for that every month for years and years, then it tells you that you are disciplined enough to set aside money for that responsibility. When you're planning to buy a property, you might also want to include in your emergency fund already the monthly payments of equity or amortization that you will be paying for your property. So that means either your emergency fund should be inflated or you're going to have to grow it when you buy a property. Number 2 is that you have a stable source of income or cash flow. When I say this, I mean that you are not living paycheck to paycheck. Ideally, you have more than one source of income because, as I keep on saying, one source of income is really not enough anymore, especially with what we've seen during the pandemic. So it's best to have at least 2 or more streams of income. When you have a big responsibility like a mortgage or home loan, you need to have backup plans. So with that, also you have to consider how long you will be staying at your current profession or your current job. So for example, if you're an OFW, how long do you see yourself working there? And if you want to come home to the Philippines, for example, do you have the income source to match what you are getting there abroad? So if you are in the corporate world, do you see yourself working there for the next 5, 10, 15 years? Or do you have a plan wherein you would try to match what you are earning in your current salary or current job? So when you're buying a property, especially when you are going through a home loan, it is a long-term commitment. You can have it at 5 years, 10 years, 15, or even 20 years. So knowing that it's a long-term commitment, you should also see your long-term plans in your career or in your income. So number 3, you know what you want and why. And this applies to a lot of aspects. Do you want a condo or a house? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to have a car or multiple cars? How many rooms do you want or need? Are you going to have house help? What location are you looking at? All of these questions comes with buying a property. If you don't know what you want yet, or maybe you don't know what's out there, you can check out my real estate videos here. So make sure to check that playlist out. But also what I did back then was to attend a lot of open houses and also to reach out to agents or brokers and ask them about properties. Number 4 sign is that your long-term plans don't require you to move. This includes maybe having to move because of your work, maybe because of your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or maybe even your family. So the reason for this is even if you're not directly using the properties, yes, you can rent it out. But if the people that you trust also would be moving out, then it would be harder for you to find someone that you can trust to manage that property. Of course, the option of having a property manager is also there. But what I've noticed is that for people who decide to migrate, they really find less value in still owning a property in a certain area or in a certain country. And that's usually what makes them decide to sell the property at a loss or at a really cheap price compared to the market price. So that's not an ideal situation, although it's not the end of the world if that happens. But especially if you are considering it to be your primary residence, it's ideal that you don't have plans to move in the near future. Number 5 is that you have other investments. So I don't typically recommend real estate properties to be your first investment because like I said, it's a big decision, it's a big responsibility, and it's a big commitment. So ideally, you have other investments like for example in stocks, in funds, or in the MP2. I have a video on all the types of investments, so you guys can also check that out on what else is out there. And also, I encourage you guys to have either insurance or mortgage redemption insurance because for example, you're the breadwinner, tapos you're going to buy a property and you're going to apply a loan for it. And in case something happens to you, it's hard for your family or the people that you left behind to catch up on paying those loan amortization month to month for how many years because of course you lost your income as well, right? So it's ideal that you prepare for the worst case scenario wherein if you pass on your liability to your family, your relatives, how are they going to pay that off? So I personally have insurance or mortgage redemption insurance or MRI that can cover the entire amount of my loan just in case something happens to me. Okay, so number 6 sign that you're ready to buy a property is that you have the 30% down payment saved up. So I've mentioned this in my previous video, but it's ideal that you have around 30% of the total contract price saved up because when you buy a property, there's going to be a reservation fee, there's going to be down payments, or maybe they would even spread out the down payments and you have to pay monthly equity. There might be other fees or closing fees, or there might even be big discounts when you lump sum your down payments. So it's best to be ready for those. But the thought there is that you have to be ready for the initial 30% of the property price. And also because the first few months of paying equity, for example, you're paying 12,000 pesos every month, that might be a big adjustment for you and your cash flow and your finances. So it's best that you have that amount set aside already so you would avoid any lapses on your payments. Okay, so the last sign that you're ready to buy a property is you don't have bad debt. Bad debt consists of maybe having consumer credit card debt, meaning you have credit card debt on things that you spend for that are liabilities or they're not really assets. Another is having debt to your family or friends. Ideally, if you buy a property, you don't owe anyone any money that we never know, diba? They might need that money more than you. So it's best to pay off those first. And also, you don't have micro loans or salary loans or basically debts that have high or variable interest rates, especially when they're used for discretionary spendings or things that lose value. So I guess subtext to not having bad debt is to have good credit. So of course, if you are considering to apply for a home loan in the future either through a bank or borrowing money from Pag-ibig, then building good relationships with either or both institutions would be really beneficial for you. So that means that you are contributing to your Pag-ibig because they need at least 9 months of consistently contributing. And if you have more contributions, that means that you might get a better rate, a better chance to get approved, and etc. And that goes the same with banks. Building good credit by having a credit card and always paying it on time. Having the possible necessary requirements in the future like an ITR. So that means if you're a freelancer, you should register with the BIR so that you have your income tax returns, which it's income tax season. So if you guys don't know how that works, I also have videos on taxes or the basics of taxes here in the Philippines. Because the reality is, if you're going to take out a loan or buy a property for the first time, your income is going to be scrutinized. The bank, Pag ibig, even the developer you're buying the property from, they will be looking at your finances because they also want to make sure that you can afford the property. So not part of the 7, but I guess it goes without saying you need to be knowledgeable about the world of real estate to a certain extent. You don't need naman to study it like you're a broker or an agent, but to know the terms, to know what's a good price of that property or not, and those come by researching about real estate properties and the areas that you want. Okay, so those are the 7 signs that you're ready to buy a property. Before we talk about how to compute your budget for a property, if you've checked most, if not all, of the 7 signs that I talked about, then maybe you're ready to buy a property. You guys should check out Avida. Avida has a really good track record in the real estate industry here in the Philippines, and if I buy a property, I make sure to look into the developer and make sure that they are a trusted and a developer that has good standing, they have good reputation and all of that. Kasi mahirap na pag inexperience yung developer or hindi maganda yung pagkagawa ng property, hindi maganda yung after sales or yung property management, because I've heard a lot of horror stories of property managers that don't manage the property right. May promo yung Avida Towers Astrea Tower 2 wherein waived yung reservation fee. It's located along Quirino Highway, Fairview, Quezon City, right where the new MRT 7 will pass. Their 22.5 square meter junior bedroom starts at 4.3 million pesos. This is a pre-selling property, but if you guys prefer a ready-to-move-in or a rent-to-own type of property, may early move-in promo sila for Avida Tower Sukat. So this is sa south naman kasi kanina that was for Quezon City sa north. No reservation fee pa rin. And you can move in after 6 months. You can contact Carla at either this number or this number. I will also link it down below in the description. You can Viber her if you're not in the Philippines. Again, let her know that I sent you because I specifically asked her to take care of my viewers. Again, thank you so much, Avida, for sponsoring this part of the video. Now, let's move on to computing how much your budget is or how much you can afford to buy for a property. So there are several rule of thumbs for this. First is that you can afford to buy a property that's 3 times your annual income. So for example, your annual income is 1.5 million, then you can buy a property worth around 4.5 million pesos. That's, I guess, pretty straight to the point. The second is, I already mentioned it earlier, but I want to reiterate it. You need to have at least 30% of the property value or the total contract price saved up so that you can be ready for the down payment, the fees, the equity, etc. And then the last is a worldwide rule of thumb. It's the 28-36. Which means you can't spend more than 28% of your monthly income for your home expenses. So by home expenses, this includes the home loan repayments or the amortization you will be paying to the bank. So kasali na dyan yung amount of the principal and the interest. So your annual property taxes, your HOA or your home association dues or your condo dues, your home insurance, and other related costs in maintaining your household. So again, not more than 28%. So for example, you are earning 50,000 pesos, you can't spend 25,000 pesos on your home expenses. 50% is too high to spend on home-related expenses. So for it to be sustainable, it shouldn't be more than 28%. They would also suggest to apply the 28% or less if you are paying for a loan that is not more than 15 years long. So again, in clearer terms, if you are earning 100,000 pesos per month, your home-related expenses shouldn't exceed 28,000 pesos. So for the 36, it means that your total debt should not be more than 36% of your total income. So by total debt, this doesn't just include the home loan, but it also includes if you have a car loan, a personal loan, and etc. So all of that debt shouldn't be more than 36% of your total income. So you can compute this monthly, but I think a better overview for this is annually. So your total annual income, for example, is 1 million pesos. Your total debt shouldn't be more than 360,000 pesos for that year. So yeah, are you guys ready to buy a property? Let me know in the comment section down below. Again, thank you so much Avida for sponsoring a part of this video. So again, I'll leave Carla's number here in case you guys are interested in any Avida properties or any real estate related questions. If you like this video, then please feel free to share this to your friends or to your families. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up because it really helps out the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and ring that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload another video. And again, I know that adulting is already hard and that's why I love making these videos for you guys. This is Charm again and I will see you in my next video.